Hello everyone. This particular video is going to cover a little bit about the course website, the homepage. And then we're going to go on to discuss in a brief manner, or to amplify in a brief manner, the material that's been published regarding Chapter 1. I assume, or I'm hoping by this time, that all of you have examined the course website. As I said in one of my announcements, the course website is set to open to announcements, so you will get the latest information from me immediately. And then you can navigate to the home page, which on the left-hand side is just above that. Homepage, Engineering Ethics, and then your section number, whether it's 940 or 942. Today I want to talk about the website just a little bit. There are a few highlights on the homepage that I want to point out. First is the Aries Course Reserve. And in the Aries Course Reserve, you will find the videos that we are using for this particular course. Gilbane Gold is posted on there, Incident at Morales, and the True Steel Affair, and the Challenger case, which we will be looking at later on, although it is introduced at the very beginning of the 5th edition of Engineering Ethics. It is a case study that we'll be looking at later on in the course, and in fact the final exam will be involved with that. Second, Blackboard Collaborate. Collaborate is, I was online today and I was like, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the commercial for the Maytag Repairman, but I have been, not just today, but in many days, the guy who was there all alone. No one contacted me at all today. That's not unusual. That is where we can meet. I've said before, you can, during office hours, you can contact me over Blackboard Collaborate. If you don't know how to use it, you can either contact IRT or myself, and we'll give you an explanation of it. And if you care to talk to me in a different way, in a different manner, via Skype or email or the phone, we can do that as well. That's a repeat of what I say in the introduction. I hope that you've looked at the course syllabus. I'll have more to say that as the various items come up. Have to say about that as the various items come up. But I'm going to pass over that now. The next document is Developing a Case Study in Ethics. That I cannot overemphasize the importance of this document. No matter how much I've emphasized it in the past, the guidelines given there are continually ignored. Please pay attention to these and follow these guidelines in producing your work. First, a case summary, then an analysis of the case, and go into the details that are indicated in this document. I will re-emphasize this every time that we have an assignment, and I will talk about how it applies in the given assignment. The next item is the NSPE Code of Ethics. This is probably the broadest of the codes, most encompassing of the codes, but any of you in the subspecialties, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, have your own code of ethics which applies. And I want you to familiarize yourself with this. Read this, certainly. It's important from an ethical perspective, and obviously we care about that in this course. But it's also important for you just from a liability standpoint. You should know what the contents of this are and what you can be held accountable for. The next item that I want to talk about is the Texas Online Ethics Center, and I have the website up, and let me just pull this up. This is hosted by Texas A&M, the proud alma mater of Johnny Manziel. You're not required to know that for this course, as a matter of fact. But what I do want you to do is look at and familiarize yourself with this particular webpage. And the first item that you can link to once you get to the main webpage are cases and scenarios. Here there are over 500 case studies. As I said in the intro video, we will be using case studies throughout the course of the quarter, and if you looked over, which I hope you did, the first chapter or the lecture summaries, you will see that there are a number of case studies contained in them, and we'll have a little bit to say about that here. Other things that are available there, various ethical codes and guidelines. If you hit down to that, if you go into that, you can find engineering creeds, oaths, and pledges. Oaths I'm not sure about. Whether that means you'll learn how to curse like an engineer, probably not. But you should take a look at these if you have any questions at all about codes for your various subspecialty. There are, suffice it to say about this, this is a very rich resource. Texas A&M has done a very good job here. I was a bit surprised when I first started to teach engineering ethics several years ago. I guess more than a half dozen at this point. That Texas Tech and Texas A&M are two of the strongest universities, not that I have anything against Texas, for case studies, for engineering ethics. The reason for this, I expect, is because of petroleum engineering, and that struck me just shortly after I began to think about it at all. But regardless of the reason, they do an excellent job, and this site is probably, I expect, the premier site for engineering ethics that's available. Let me go back to the home page and see if there's anything else that I want. I put a link on for VoiceThread presentations, so I'm not sure that we'll use this term, and so don't worry about this particular link unless I tell you that we are going to use it, and I don't think that that is going to happen, to tell you the truth. So let's go on from there. The second topic that I want to address, apart from the web page, I have indicated in the syllabus, and it will be the case, that you will have a group study. If you know someone taking the course in your section of the course that you would like to be in a group with, please let me know about it. If there are any requests, I will honor them, certainly, as long as it's possible. It looks to me, I have two sections of engineering ethics, 23 students in each section. So it looks to me that most of the groups will be, that in each section we will have 3 5-man groups or 5-person groups and 2 4-person groups. If you want to be in a group with someone, please let me know. And that, the caveat to that is that as long as they want to be in the group with you as well. But let me know about that immediately. I'm going to repeat this a number of times. I assume will facilitate for you, make you feel comfortable about working in a group. It's a little bit different working in a group online than it is in class, because in class you can at least meet each other once a week to discuss things either before class or after class or during break as to how you want to proceed. When it's online, you can be complete strangers, and in fact I had groups last year in which, last summer, it is last year now, where some of the people were at Burlington County Community College and some of the people were on the main campus, and they communicated with each other, and in that particular case they did a very good job. So begin to think about what who you would like to have in your group, if you know anyone, and please let me know. I will accept emails, certainly, and I will honor any request to the extent that I can, and that is to a very significant extent that I can honor those kind of requests. So more will be said about that as we go along. So that is what I have to say about the website. And I want to make a few remarks. I'm certainly not going to be doing a lecture here, but I want to make a few remarks about the material in Chapter 1. And by way of amplification, and to give you, at least in part, some of my take on what is being said there. At the outset of every lecture summary, I'll give you a list of the main ideas in the particular chapter that we're examining. And here, the most important ideas are that A, we are doing a course in professional ethics. B, the question is whether engineering qualifies as a profession or not, and then that there are the types of morality that there are, and I think that by far is the most important of the three. So let's begin briefly. Whether engineering is a profession or not may be of some interest, but I think that the interest in that is academic. You have chosen to be engineers. Engineers have bodies that govern them. You have chosen to be an engineer. Engineers have bodies that govern them, no matter the subspecialty. There are some things about engineering that indicate that it might not be a profession. Today, almost universally, I would say engineers have to have specialized training. But some of the more famous engineers, Thomas Edison, for example, did not have any formalized training and certainly did not have a degree as an engineer. So people have been building things, engineering things for a long, long time. They've been doing that as long as they have been brewing beer, for example, and no one worries too much about whether brewing is a profession or not. So from a personal standpoint, it may matter to you whether what you're in is called a profession or not. And certainly it's addressed in at least a perfunctory way in the first chapter. And the bottom line is that under some specifications, engineering is a profession. Under others, it is not. To me, this is a matter that is not of any great moment. Now, questioning whether engineering is a profession is whether engineers should be professional. And the adjective certainly would seem to describe an ideal engineer, someone who is a professional person. There are different models of professionalism. Two are outlined in the text. The first is the business model of engineering, which is taken, Milton Friedman, a famous 1980s, 1990s conservative economist, is taken as the model there. And in this particular case, the goal of a firm that an engineer is in, whether it is his firm or a firm that he is working for, is to maximize profit, and the engineer should help in that respect regardless. The so-called professional model is that engineers have a trust between themselves and the larger public. That is what was known in 18th century philosophy as a social contract with the public. And this, I think, is seen to be true by the societies that govern engineers. You have a tremendous capacity to affect public health and public safety. If you don't believe that, tune into the History Channel and watch the show Engineering Disasters. Obviously, engineering disasters is going to be about the most negative part of your profession. But that is one of the reasons, perhaps the most central reason, why engineers have bodies that govern them, both with governmental entities and within their own group. Your goal is to, by, I don't want to say the easiest or most central definition, but by an largely agreed upon definition, your goal is to A, promote the health and safety of the public, and B, to improve the lot of humanity, that seems pretty broad, through the use of technology. And those two go hand in hand. Just getting better through technological advance, just engineering in lockstep with technological advance, is morally neutral. You can produce the most wonderful machines which do the worst things to people, certainly. But it is largely taken by the professional societies that the engineer should promote health and safety. And in fact, that is an overriding of the public, excuse me. And in fact, that is an overriding concern, to the point where you can violate other aspects of the code, such as client confidentiality, if the health and safety of the public are at stake. And that's all I'll say at this point in time about that. The other thing, and the last thing that I want to talk about, are what Harris, Pritchard, and Ravens et al. List as the three types of ethics and morality. The first of these is common morality, and if it weren't for common morality, there would be no morality at all. It's remarkable, the widespread agreement across cultures through time about the propriety or impropriety of certain kinds of things, despite their divergence in some particulars, some important particulars, but in some particulars. Proscriptions regarding sex, sexual taboos. Almost all moral codes have codicils about lying, about unjust violence, about the need to respect your ancestors or your elders. They're all there, and it is almost universally across cultures, if not universally. Many of these prescriptions are negative. If you go down a common one in Anglo-American culture, the Ten Commandments, you'll see many that are negative. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery. Some that are positive prescriptions, honor thy father and thy mother. And any code from any culture is going to have these kinds of things going back, I expect, to the Code of Hammurabi. So common morality is the basis for all of the morality that we have. The second one that is listed is personal morality, and this is what you specifically think about things. To a large extent, the authors suggest, this is going to be informed by common morality, and I would agree with that. You may have particular things that you believe in that other people do, or that not all other people believe in. For example, you could be an environmentalist. You may believe that it would be wrong, an example used in the text, to build a shopping center that could be built elsewhere that would ruin the wetlands. All right, you may not believe that. You may have a business model of professionalism, and you believe that you should maximize the profits for your company or for your firm, and by taking this contract or fulfilling this particular assignment, you will help to do that. These are the kinds of things that will be examined throughout the course of the quarter. By and large, however, personal morality is congruent with common morality, but can differ in important respects in particular instances. The last one is listed as professional ethics. And this is a code of ethics. It's a set of standards adopted by professionals, is the way that Harris, Pritchard, and Raymond put it, insofar as they are acting within their particular profession. Standards are usually stated in a formal code, such as the NSPE. Okay, the American Society of Civil Engineers has a code, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, the American Society of Electrical Engineers. Back in your home country, if you're not a U.S. citizen, there are corresponding codes for your own engineering societies. Other codes will exist as well. There's going to be governmental codes regarding standards for engineers. And we'll talk about expert testimony as we go along, and expert testimony from one engineer against another as to whether they were following practice standard, whether they were following what is accepted as standard practice, and we'll look at the idea of standard practices as we go along. All right. Case studies. There are a number of case studies listed in the text. I would like you to look at them. Look, for example, at the Goodrich A7 brake case where we had falsifications of tests, and just think about the recent issues with Volkswagen, where they had software in the cars that was designed to fool emission testers. These are the sorts of things that are negative in engineering. The positive face of engineering, aspirational engineering. There are a number of interesting cases listed. Sealed beam headlight, where a group of GE engineers on their own developed the sealed beam, which greatly improved car safety. Airbags were developed by Carl Clark, who did this on his own and got nothing from it in terms of financial reward. And then they go on to talk about Engineers Without Borders. We will look at all this. But for right now, let me just say that I want you to familiarize yourself with the course. Next week, we will have a discussion board question posted, and I will talk more about that at that time. And at this point in time, I'm going to end, and thank you, and I will have a blog posted shortly, and we'll talk next week. Bye.